Coming up at ACMI on February the 23rd to the 27th is the Melbourne Women in Film Festival. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the festival director, Sian Mitchell. Sian, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Peter.
Pleasure to talk to you. And you must be thrilled to have a proper in-person event after all this COVID.
Oh, I know. We so are. We're so happy to be back in venues, definitely. We still want to do some stuff online and give people an option for certain kinds of events, but having our films back in cinemas on a big screen with people and atmosphere, and it's just going to be wonderful. I can't wait.
Terrific stuff. Now, tell me about the programming, because I noticed that one of the major aspects that I'm aware of so far is Femme Frontera. That sounds like a very interesting program.
Yeah. So this is a program of shorts. It's the first time we've done this. We actually are trying to do a few more sorts of international connections, which kind of works with the festival theme as a hint. Just to kind of showcase what women and gender diverse filmmakers are doing around the world, with the intention of trying to build, I guess, some channels for our own local filmmakers as well. So this is the first one that we're doing this year. And it is a shorts program that they put together. They put one together every year. It's an organization that has a very similar remit to us, where they want to showcase women and gender diverse filmmakers. They're more international, so they're from around the world, but they do have a heavy focus on sort of local filmmakers to their area around that sort of border between Texas and Mexico. So that sort of Central America, North America border. And so that's kind of a theme that runs through a lot of the films in this year's showcase that we're screening with them. There are a lot of short films that kind of really sort of examine and explore the different kinds of effects and ramifications around being in border towns as one kind of theme through it. But also it kind of works for us in terms of our theme as well, because it does kind of connect to, connections with family, with loved ones, with partners and lovers. And so all of those sort of short films tend to examine those sorts of issues. And so we're able to screen that. And then hopefully we've got a bit of a Q&A, a recorded Q&A with some of the filmmakers afterwards. It'll be online as well. And then we're able to sort of send our award short winners over to their festival to see if they can screen over there with them as well. So that's the kind of things we're trying to do now that we're back in venues, and we can kind of build up and grow again.
That is excellent news. And it's so interesting to look at this idea of women in film and of promoting women in film, and that it has been a male dominated industry. But I'm wondering, are things changing? I get the impression that there are more women filmmakers out there.
There's always been a lot of women filmmakers out there. We just haven't really seen them very much. But I think things are slowly changing. There's been a lot of initiatives over the past few years, not always perfect initiatives, but initiatives nonetheless to help, really increase the production and the visibility of women in screen. I think there's a lot of really incredibly talented women working in television, actually, at the moment. That seems to be a real kind of growth area in terms of what women are doing. But I think that it is slowly changing. We are seeing a lot more kind of women, I suppose, coming through a more sort of mainstream film context. So looking at, I can say, our opening night film with Job Clerk Sweet As. We're screening that as our opening night, but that's getting a theatrical run after we have it, and it's doing amazing things overseas as well. So and she's, and to point out also, she's an Indigenous woman. So that's another kind of community and group of filmmakers that are even more underrepresented or have been in the past. And hopefully that's going to help grow more Indigenous women filmmakers and storytellers as well. So we're seeing slow increases, I think. Yeah.
Of course, and a festival like yours, of course, showcases that, and it's so important that audiences come along. I think that's very important. So, tell me
Yeah.
about, apart
Support
from,
these women.
yes, exactly. So, and of course, I should mention that you received the Natalie Miller Fellowship, which is a great honor.
Yes. Oh gosh, it's so exciting. As soon as I found out, I couldn't breathe. I was so excited about it. But yeah, it's a really incredible fellowship for women wanting to expand, I guess, their particular kind of professional pathway in screen leadership. And for me, it's going to enable me to go overseas, to go to some women's film festivals overseas and try to connect with them a bit more and learn about how they sort of function and bring those learnings back to the Melbourne Women in Film Festival. So I'm going to go to Vancouver. I'm going to go to Paris. So Paris has what's Créteil, just near Paris, has, I think, the oldest still running women's film festival in the world, happening in March to April. And then the one in Vancouver is Vancouver International Women's Film Festival. And I chose that one because they have a very similar sort of funding environment in Canada for film festivals, and also sort of similar kinds of programming, intersectional programming intentions as well. So trying to make sure that they're programming their local Indigenous filmmakers and non-binary filmmakers and gender diverse filmmakers and stuff as well. So so I thought that'd be some good ones to learn from and see how they do it and see what works and try to bring that back and help our local filmmakers more.
That is terrific for you, that and for the festival. That's great news. So, tell me about the challenges of programming the festival, including, as you've already mentioned, the opening night film Sweet As.
The challenges, oh gosh, I guess it's always just making sure we've got enough money to do what we want. It's always about budget, really. Yeah, so I suppose that's the biggest challenge, is making sure that we can kind of fund the sorts of events and the sorts of sort of networking and bringing people over and trying to create those conversations between our audiences and our filmmakers as best we can. But otherwise, this year programming hasn't been too bad. I mean, our short films are all fantastic and they're always an absolute pleasure to program. The partnership with Femme Frontera was really great, and that kind of happened earlier on in the process last year. It's all, I think opening night though is always kind of the one where we're like, oh, what are we going to do? What's the thing that we really want to be able to showcase? And we've done a few retrospectives in the past and sort of moving now to sort of more contemporary opening nights. And I saw Sweet As at MIF last year and just loved it. And initially we were going to put it in the program, but not as opening night. But then we just thought, but hang on, it kind of speaks to everything that we're about. We're about women's voices, like the creative team behind it, the producer, the cinematographer, the editor, all identify as women. Of course, Jub does as well. And it's a local story, Australian story. It's from WA, but we just thought it's the perfect thing to showcase for an opening night. And it feels good. It's full of hope. Yeah, it's a really beautiful film. So we thought, well, why aren't we making it opening night? So sometimes it's those sorts of challenges where we're thinking, what is that thing that we really want to showcase and that speaks to what we are as a festival? But Sweet As is a no-brainer, I think, with that.
Sounds very interesting. Looking forward to seeing it. I've already had a look at Shit, if you pardon the expression. That's the name of the film.
It is the name of the film.
I always have
Can't
to
help
be
it.
careful.
Can't help it. Got to say it.
Gee, I've just had a look at Shit. No, it's a really interesting film featuring three women, and I won't explain too much of the storyline, but it's they've been locked up for a particular reason, which is eventually explored. Very interesting film. I'm glad you chose it.
Yeah, so this is one that sort of came our way a little bit later in our programming, but When we sort of heard about it, it's a local Melbourne team that has made it, so that's always a winner with us. And that, yeah, it basically focuses on these three women. It's a real sort of examination of class, I guess, from a very Melbourne perspective too, I think. And also the fact that it kind of looks at, I suppose, the adaptation of a theatre play, something that was made for theatre, into the film form, which is a kind of interesting connection there, I think, as well. So having a really successful play with Patricia Cornelius's shit that's done really well theatrically around the world, to then kind of be able to premiere. It's the Australian premiere for this film, so to be able to premiere the film version of it, we thought, well, yeah, brilliant. So yeah, totally made space for that one in our program.
Fully understand. It's definitely a worthy inclusion. Can you talk about some of the other films you've selected, knowing that the program launch doesn't happen till the 2nd of February? So, of course, as we're talking, I won't be uploading the interview until that time when you make the proper public announcements. But can you talk about some of the other films?
Well, one that actually has already been announced that I can talk about is that we've got we're screening The Goddess of 1967 as our retrospective, Clara Law's film from 2000. And that's part of a season that ACMI is actually doing, focusing on Clara Law films. So we're kind of co-presenting that with them. And that's on the Friday night in the festival. That's the 24th of February. And Clara Law will be there to do a Q&A after the film as well. And Eddie Fong, I should say, as well, her collaborative partner. And then we're closing with another really beautiful film I saw at MIF called Kainga, and I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly because I don't have an Aotearoa New Zealand accent, but it's the third film in the sort of trilogy, I guess, of anthology films produced by Kerry Wakia and Kyle McNaughton. So they did Waru and Vai, and I believe there's some more coming later on as well. So this is the third one, and it's 8 Pan-Asian writer-directors doing sort of segments throughout the film as they're normally structured. And this all sort of centers around a particular house or home in New Zealand that they all sort of live in over, I think it's about 7 decades in time. So it sort of centers in this one place and how they kind of, I guess, relate to it, how they make it home, you know, those sorts of really, you know, interesting sort of stories and connections that we have to where we live. Particularly, I guess, coming from other countries as well and making a home somewhere else, which can be really,
yeah.
You know,
it again sounds very interesting because I saw Vi and so on. So it's so interesting to see some good films coming out of New Zealand. They don't produce a huge number of films, but what they produce is really fascinating stuff.
Oh, quality, absolute quality that comes out of there, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the festival over the 5 days, February 23rd to the 27th at ACMI. How can people learn more about it? Website, book tickets, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, our website has our whole program on it. So that's going to be launched on the 3rd of February. So we've got the launch in person on the 2nd of February in the evening, and then everything will be available on our website, which is www.mwff.org.au. And you can also go to the ACMI website because it'll be all up there as well, and that's where you buy tickets and stuff. So yeah.
Sounds like a very interesting festival indeed, and I hope it goes well. I'll, all being well, I should be there at the launch, so I might catch up with you.
Fabulous. It'll be good to see you in person.
Yes, without the backdrop and everything. But Sian, I must ask you, have you seen any films of late that have impressed you?
What have I seen recently? Oh, Triangle of Sadness. I saw just before Christmas. And I love his work, Ruben Östlund's work in general. I really liked The Square and Force Majeure as well. So I was really impressed with Triangle of Sadness. And I've been having this debate with people, particularly on my team, about whether is it better than White Lotus or not? And I kind of think it is. I think I prefer the film to White Lotus. Maybe that's controversial. But probably that's the one that sort of stands out at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen Tar yet?
Not yet, not yet. Once this festival is done, I
Yes,
really, really, really do want to see it. Yes.
I can highly recommend it.
Okay. Oh God, yeah, the trailer looks amazing.
Well, Kate should win the Oscar, but anyway, if she's
Of
nominated,
course.
I'm sure she is.
No, she'll be nominated, I reckon. Definitely.
That's right. Well, we'll know that overnight tonight, because the Oscar nominations are out as we're recording this overnight. Anyway, Sian, congratulations on the Melbourne Women in Film Festival at ACMI, February 23rd to 27th, with a number of really interesting films and discussions and panels and all sorts of things happening, short films, of course. And Sian Mitchell, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you once again. It's been fun. Thank you.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.